This is Energy Perspectives. Welcome. I am Tony Abolo. On this program, we look at energy matters as it affects us in Nigeria, as well as global energy matters that could impact us, whether it is electrical, it is oil and gas, or renewable energy. And our focus on this edition of the program is on renewable energy. In the last edition, we were looking at the issues of policies and the possibilities of increasing the energy supply in Nigeria through alternative renewable energy sources. And this time we want to deepen that conversation by looking at issues that are technological, implementation, manufacturing, and the possibilities of making it a home, domestic, wider scale affair. And we have our guests on this show. I would like to welcome both of them to the program. But first, to an issue that could be very contentious. Prices are hitting the roof in Nigeria. The dollar rate is looking like $1 to about 550 naira. Cement prices going up. Electric energy, the prices are still vacillating and sometimes soaring. Food prices are almost hitting the roof. And to compound our woes, the DPR director, engineer Seriki Awala, is saying that unless there are a mixed source of energy sources in Nigeria, that fuel price per liter might hit 1,000 naira. And that sounds scary, right? Yes. Well, can we now find solace in alternative renewable energy in Nigeria for today and for tomorrow? That's the major question we have today on our program. Ebelojo, who is a financial and business development consultant, as well as consulting in energy matters, and he has consulted in the Middle East, as well as even in Nigeria, in Kwara State, and even here in Nigeria, is here with us on the program. Ebelojo, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
And so we do have a theoretic physicist who himself is working on solar energy expertly, and also has been using artificial intelligence to mediate into technological solutions in the country. And he also worked with New Digits, a company that is a tech company that is situated in the Edo Innovation Hub. He's Michael Authority Odili. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, to you, Mike, can we possibly find renewable energy sources in Nigeria to meet our domestic needs, nationwide needs?
Okay, so thank you for having me. Being able to find other alternative sources to mix with the hydrocarbon based sources currently, we actually have the potentials to do so. But having the potential doesn't mean we've harnessed all of that yet. So yes, the answer to that question is yes, because there are so many alternative energy solutions, even beyond the solar that everybody know about. Although for now, in this day and time, solar is more like the major focus when it comes to transitioning power, transitioning energy. And when it comes to transitioning, there are so many things that come into play, even including government policies. Yeah, so coming to solar panels, even starting from where we are currently in Nigeria, where we have more like if 14,000 megawatts being produced, about that number. And because of the issues regarding transmission, we end up having to make use of about 4,000 megawatts of this. So that means it's not just about having a system that can even improve in the generation. It's actually decentralizing the system or even working on the transmission systems. So talking about solar, talking about alternative and renewable energy sources, yes, there are so many alternative renewable energy sources that are available here in Nigeria.
Okay, we'll come back to that because you seem to have played on issues of policies and all of that. Abel, you've been on this for donkey years now. You think we have enough mix to move around in Nigeria, meet our needs?
Yes, across the country, for example, viable sources that are available have not been harnessed yet to its fullest potentials. And first and foremost, I want to thank you for bringing up this initiative to discuss in alternative sources of energy because of its potential for human capital development. The DPRO making that pronouncement must have seen a lot of dangers in our current electricity supply situation, because in economic development studies, electricity supply is a major indices. And that's why when you talk about the net domestic ratio between the population of the people, the population of the country, vis-a-vis the quantum of electricity that is available in terms of megawatts, is a fundamental indices that is used to measure the potentials of economic development of a particular country. Because a lot of activities in the industries, in households, even impact of what causes the indices of human capital, apart from development, happiness, which is very profound in having people think properly to attain economic performance in driving policies in a country. That particular indices is a very key indices. But the challenge, however, is when you talk about the process for harnessing alternative sources of energy, you'll be looking at what cost. So maybe as we unfold.
Yes, we'll definitely look
yes.
into cost. But
Yes.
just something occurs to me. When you have the DPR executive director making this kind of anxious comments, there is a disconnect. Let's look at a public policy level. At a disconnect when just one section is raising an alarm and raising a concern, whereas there ought to be, if you like a summit, when all the energy sectors are coming together to explore how we can explore, to use Odili's language, potential. And we like to think of going towards the actual. So why do you think, what stops us from not only harnessing energy, but also harnessing the public sector and private sector? Well, although we'll also look at that mix, but for now, the public sector doesn't seem to be very organized to look at this.
Okay, yes, that's the reality we find around here, which is why the future of making these things work relies on the private sector, actually, because making policies and maintenance is not the major thing, because you could make policies and at some point on the line, it's being compromised. And that is one of the major issues we actually face. Just like looking at the more like the public sector interaction, public sector part of the action to take. We'll look at things that actually support these alternative power sources that could actually be affected by, say, the government. Yeah, talking about tariffs, import duties, supporting local production of the materials needed for these alternative power sources. So that is actually the things we look out for. But then we don't necessarily get it, because sometimes looking at, okay, being practical now, solar panel production or solar panel importation, currently it used to be tariff free, but currently there is a 5% tax on it, import tax, then value added tax to another 5%, which is 10%. Then talking about batteries, which is actually, because getting the energy, moving the energies is not enough. Harnessing the energy is not enough. It needs to be stored. And that's if we're talking about the solar systems that depend on battery for storage, because there are so many other ones. Scientifically, then, like as a scientist that I am, okay. Yeah, so that's it. And the batteries on its own come with about 20% import tax on them. So these things are some of the policies that do not necessarily support this transitioning. Yeah, so that's what we find.
Would you want to make a critique, therefore, Abel, because the way it's added up the tariffs, we're looking at 30%. And you know, those tariffs are not business friendly, nor are they pocket friendly to consumers. So, could there be a rethink on the side of government you consider?
Yeah, certainly. Because I talked about costs the other time. Based on my background, if there's any move to be made, I always take into consideration the cost bottom line. Unfortunately, as a policy, I see a lot of disconnect between the continuum of the intentions of what we want to achieve and the means of achieving the therefore intentions and action to make sure what you intend to do, you will actually do it. In most of the policies that we have observed in this country, we see that most of the time you see government policies, some that are supposed to be complementary. In economic development, you must have different policies. Some of them are supposed to be complementary, and if you do A and you do B, which is supposed to be a complementary policy, wrongly, then the policy is dead before you even start. I'll give you an example. If the government intention is to move away from hydrocarbon, or use of fossil fuel derivatives to drive energy supply, is an objective that the country wants to attain. Therefore, if that is your objective, why will you impose tax?
Tariffs. Well,
Yes.
okay, if you want to call it
Yes,
tax.
tax, yes, or tariff as high as 30% on importation of the key components that are supposed to lead you to the use of solar, for example. So that is one. Then number two is frequent change in the policies. The benchmark in economic development is that if you enunciate a particular policy now, you should wait at least 3 to 5 years for you to see the impact of that policy.
And along the way, you evaluate policy implementation to get feedback.
Yes, whether are you going according to track.
Absolutely.
But what we have had in this country for a very long time is that within
policy somersault
all too soon. So that is a key challenge. Then at the same time also, some of these things that are supposed to drive, the components that are supposed to drive sustainable alternative energy. I use the word sustainable because if you start it today and you're not continue with it, then something is wrong. Is the potential for producing these items in the country, they are also there.
Yeah.
Namely, ranging from even teaching students, science students, the act of making photovoltaic panels.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. So
we're going to come back to that.
Yes. Therefore, we'll continue to depend. And what is even the photovoltaic panels we're talking about? It's silicon sand, which we all step on here. But it takes a level of intelligence to be able to harness that and turn it into a photovoltaic, because that's the most sensitive part of turning the energy from sun into renewable energy that we're talking about. So if the knowledge gap is very huge, it means you will continue to depend on
foreign imports.
And at the same time, okay, you want to say you want to do import substitution.
Yeah.
Another policy that instead of complementary is working against your intention in the first instance is that you now increase forex. The rate at which somebody will assess importing these components inside, are very prohibitive. Then affordability becomes another challenging issue. So therefore, we think that for a sustainable policy that will drive this key component or the different sources of alternative energy, we must be able to take a holistic position, in the value chain of all these things and come up with a policy and even subsidize it. The foreign exchange market, for example, there was a time we were doing what is called, especially from the Babangida regime, guided deregulation. Okay. In other words, you allocate forex to a particular sector that is very sensitive.
And that can drive up the economy.
The economy, exactly. But we now found a situation, because of monitoring the implementation of that policy, people had access, we allocated this forex, but we're involved majorly in round tripping
and chronism,
rather than using it for the source. So instead of the CBN to be strong and monitor the agencies that are responsible for monitoring that this allocated funds goes to the right sector, they sit and just across the board ban of importation. If you want to import, go and source your own forex. Those are the kind of policies they come up with. So instead of these policies complement each other, they actually conflict with each other. That is part of a huge challenge you can identify. Yeah.
Well, we will still drive down on some of these things that we always. But let's look at models. What kind of model, Mike, would you think we should be pursuing? Can we pursue just a focus on solar, or should we try a mix of thermal, solar, and perhaps also think of wind? Because we know that geographically, some locations in the country are favored by some of these availability of energy sources. Maybe in the farther north, maybe looking at Bethany, Kebbi, and a couple of places like that, you can think of solar energy, because they say those areas near the desert have strong source of wind that can provide energy in that part. And then you now think of other locations. So what kind of mix do you recommend?
Okay.
Or model do you recommend for the mix?
Okay, so I am not going to point out one model. The reason being that for a country that requires about 200,000 megawatts of power and is currently transmitting on the national grid 4,000 megawatts, the model is going to be to approach all these alternative sources of energies and harness as many tens of the thousands of megawatts as possible. Because we can't say go, if I say use a model and go only solar, there are so many other issues that might be raised, which may also need us to think about the other areas. Because Nigeria is actually blessed with diverse climatic conditions in different areas. So because the climatic conditions within the different states in the country are not the same at every given point in time. Yeah, so because of that, there are areas that have more potency for solar. There are some other areas that have a high potency for wind energy, and there are some other areas, because I also have to talk about the gas to power plants too, because it's one of the key components for the energy transition. Because energy transition is not just going to happen in a blink; it's going to take a gradual process. And gas to power plants can provide readily heavy powers at an instant, and when they are generated in the right positionings. So the model to take as many as these other sources we can harness as a country, it's going to be the way forward. Because beyond having those solar energy, solar panels and inverters with batteries, having gas to power plants, having wind turbines, there are so many other sources of energies that we can actually harness here in this country. Because okay, my background, I'm a researcher, I'm an entrepreneur, and based on what we've looked into, because our major focus is solving problems, because everybody everybody knows what is going on in the country. Everybody knows the problem. Everybody knows that we do the power. We need energy. It's not enough, because even when we are talking about energy, it goes beyond electrical power. We're also talking about energy for the person cooking, for the people that are dying out of indoor air pollution. And these hydrocarbon-based waste have served us for about 200 years now. So they are not the future, and we know. So what is the future? We have alternative sources of power. talking about solar panels now, we at a point we went into a research and we were able to build a prototype around the fact that solar panels produce power when there is sunlight, and now needs to be stored in batteries. But one of the major concerns of solar power is when people say the batteries do not have more like up to 50 years lifespan. So, but then we went through a research that took a whole lot of time, but we figured out that actually the energy can actually be stored through other means, like systems we call the just add water system that we are currently having in EnergyDay technologies, where we can actually store energy by using it to create a gas that we do not need to burn to produce power, to get back power. So that's one. Producing energies from ambient air is also there, where we can use artificial intelligence electronic systems to trap little energies that exist in our charged environments, because you breathe in charges. The environment is charged. That's just the thing. Because if you put your mobile phone now in a human belly and maybe operated on a human being, put the mobile phone there and use interfaces like OpenBCI, Open Brain Computer Interface to control the phone, you will still get network even right from there. So that means we live in an environment that is supercharged. And there is something else. Nigeria is blessed. Like talking about the geographical location, its positioning in the world entirely, its positioning in the entire ecosystem. The thing is, we are positioned in such a way that there are some things we can actually harness around here that may not be found out there. But we keep looking at
out there, outside of the country.
Outside of the country. So, but the issue is we look at the Western world, try to download or copy what is working there into our space. But then actually there are some things that occur in our space that may not necessarily be found because of our positioning. It's not like any human cause or so on and so forth. Yes, that we can also actually harness. But people, if we talk about the development, the manufacturing and development arena in the tech industry, like where I'm from, in the tech industry, it's the support, the regard is not there, like in terms of public support. So because there are so many people doing things, there are engineers doing things. Scientists are really researching, but then the support process, because majorly what we find is you have a prototype, a working prototype, maybe you approach one or two persons, key persons, and before you find it, these persons leave the country, become expatriates in another country. Just like my team and I, like from Sigma and EnergyDay that you know of, we've been to Russia, Rosatom. Actually, I heard in the news earlier this morning that Nigeria is discussing with Rosatom with regards to more like looking into what can happen around what we can get from nuclear energy in Russia. We've been to Russia. We were there because of Rosatom. We've been to Ethiopia. We've been to Australia. It's very easy to decide to stay back in all these places, even though we know the solutions we are preferring as a people, as the kind of tech minds that we have towards solution. It's very easy to stay back, and they appreciate it so much. But we choose to come back most times because we know that with anything we can offer, it has a geographical locations where it can be mostly felt. So we are looking at not just the profits now, or not just the comfort, but then the impact on the long run. So that is major the things that actually affect this whole energy sources and in the country.
Well, gentlemen, I must thank you very much for coming. Definitely, we've had some interesting conversations which we need to build upon, because you've only pointed into some direction. Renewable alternative energy is the way to go. And definitely we'll deepen this conversation the next time. So I want to thank Ebelujo, who is a financial and business development consultant, as well as energy consultant. I shouldn't forget that.
By association.
I don't know about association.
By association with the men driving the scientific discovery at the Edo Hub.
Okay, that's okay. We want to thank you very much for coming and for shedding some light, which I think we'll want to build upon the next week. And you, Michael Authority Odili, you're working in a very good way, working on solar energy, working in artificial intelligence to provide all sorts of tech solutions from the Edo Innovation Hub and through your new Digit company. We want to thank you for coming on the show. We're expecting you all back the next time to now deepen the conversation. So we hope everyone has been better enlightened, and we're looking forward to you joining Energy Day Perspectives. I'm Tony Abolo, and I hope you've had a thorough energy-filled day.